morning, afternoon, or wherever you are. Welcome to another edition of Two Question Tuesday. We have with us today, we have Joseph Odore, who is, let me get this right, the Global Portfolio Marketing Manager for Document Capture Solutions. And I'm actually missing a word or two in there. Um, and he is also current chair of the board for Twain. Um, Thanks, Joseph, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Brian. It's a pleasure.
So I wanted to start off. You had asked when we had a predictions column, which was out in the January of this year. You predicted that network scanning would grow this year, partially based on the Twain Direct standards creation. I know Kodak Alaris also has network direct scanning. So, is it? And if not, what's holding it back from growing faster?
I definitely think that network scanning is growing. There's a couple of different segments within network scanning that really differentiate itself in its applications, right? You've got your lower cost, kind of more simplistic network scanning solutions, which are not as intelligent, but has network capabilities of just getting your documents from the scanner to a final destination. At that point, there could be other applications that do a folder watch, ingest the documents, and go from there. And then you've got your more intelligent products, which are typically driven by software that may directly drive the scanner or directly drive the interface between the hardware and the application, which allows you to do intelligent functionality. So like at Kodak Alaris here, right, we have our Infuse solution. And really what that is a terminal or a scanning terminal, right? It's all powerful, but the scanner itself does not operate until it's connected to a management platform, at which time that management platform connects to a application or multiple applications, or it can even do other basic functionality like direct scans to email, SharePoint, etc. So from there, you have some intelligent functionality. You can actually scan a document type in there, say an invoice, and let's say there is an invoice number missing. The system is intelligent enough where it could feedback saying, "Hey, I've received your document, but the invoice number is missing, so I can't process it. Please rescan it." Or if you're scanning in a legal document and it always looks for a signature, if a signature is missing, it can actually tell you, "Hey, signature is missing." In terms of Twain Direct, it operates kind of similar to that, but it's more open to other products out there that are available. Um, and then you've got your more traditional network scanning solution, which really has all the processing power on board the device. And from there, you can have the software integration done on board versus a connection over the network. So really, if you look at it, you separate between three different classes of network scanning. The most popular is somewhere in the middle there, like the Infuse platform, or that, the semi-intelligent that uses a device management application to run it, similar to how Twain Direct operates, right? So Twain Direct, you have to have the connection to a server, and then you have your software connected to the Twain Direct interface over the cloud. So your documents coming in or being ingested are coming through the authentication system and then through the application where it continues its process there. Depending on how you build that Twain Direct platform, there's intelligence that happens behind the scenes, whereas Infuse has more of the intelligence on the interface of the scanner itself. So two similar but different types of applications and technologies, and how they operate. And at the same time, it really all depends on the customer's needs, right? If a customer doesn't really need some of that feedback or real-time information coming back on those documents, they don't necessarily have to use it, but they have that option to do it as well. And that's where I see that growing, because documents today are really becoming more mobile, right? Nobody's, unless you're in a back office situation, most documents you're getting are a few pages long, and you need to do something with that document and then pull the information off of it. So, the scanning industry has definitely changed in terms of, how documents are being ingested, right? It's more transactional than it is in volumes. Of course, there's still applications where there's tons of paper and you've got to, put all that stuff in batches. But when you look at HR, accounts payable, right? You're dealing with a couple of different documents. If you're onboarding a new hire, right? You've got a specific set of documents, and you can have workflows on the control panel, right? That direct, okay, I have a healthcare form that I'm completing, right? Or I have an identification form or identification that I'm scanning, and that's going to be put into a certain portion of the repository, the CRM, or the the
Mhm.
back office ERP system that's driving the HR system, right? So you've got all these different components, and it really just depends on how you customize it. When you think about some of your more traditional back end, or high powered network scanning solutions, similar to our scan station,
Mhm.
that has more of the processing power on board. It requires the scanner to do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then it puts the document to where it needs to go. Whereas, Infuse or Twain Direct, right? Those technologies are all about taking paper, doing onboard image cleanup and processing, which most scanners have today. Some do it better than others. Kodak does a really good job with our perfect page, where it actually will do a lot of the image enhancement on board the scanner before it sends it off, whereas some scanners don't have that and will rely on a capture solution somewhere integrated into the line of business process. In addition, right, we can also do things like connect our scanner to, our info input solution product, right? And that allows it to do some of the more advanced cleanup, and then the intelligent document processing technologies that we have in there, right? We can extract, classify, and use third-party AI engines to do handwriting recognition and so forth. So there's a lot of different things we can do, and that's a nice thing, right? We can have that integration, and we can have those documents go in there and go directly into a workflow, which is really what people need, right? They want automation, and that's really where network scanning has its biggest strength, is because people don't want to sit there, have a scanner at their desk, put their paper in, scan it via their Twain or their ISIS driver or whatever they're using, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden they got to look at it, and then they're going to put it through capture software, and
Right.
then they got to put it through their application, right? Where network scanning really eliminates a lot of those processes, right? If you take one network scanner, you centralize it, even in a small work group, right? You've got your jobs laid out on the device that you're connected to. You take your documents in, you put it in, scanner does all the major cleanup, then it goes directly into the application. And at that point, it could do the extraction and all the other stuff. And it's automated, right? With intelligent document processing solutions, right? You've got, document classification,
Mhm.
right? So, if you're putting in an invoice, the system will know, oh, okay, I got an invoice. If I'm doing a resume, it's going to know it's a resume. And at that point, it's going to do what it's supposed to do once it recognizes that document type and finish its remaining, data extraction and classification processes. It could be as simple as, I'll put the searchable PDF, or it could be an extraction of that data into another system, which is going to take that information and make it available to other systems.
It's funny, as you were talking, I was just thinking, it's like it's always amazing how complicated the specifics of actually getting a solution to work are in this industry. It's such a simple concept. Take a piece of paper, scan it, move it around. But all the back end bits and pieces make it a little bit harder than that. So you were just talking about transformation, which is a good lead in for our second question. So we've been in the industry for a while. It's a mature industry, but it also feels new in some ways. You got AI, and we're talking about the variations of network scanning, which which can help simplify capture, as you were just discussing. So, from your point of view as a marketing guy, are you starting to see an increased recognition among new and potential customers around that basic concept that you aren't digitally transforming anything unless you capture documents, whether they're digital or paper?
Yeah, so I've seen over the years a big shift in how customers are perceiving what their needs are when it comes to scanning, right? So for many years, and Brian, you've been in this industry way longer than I have, right? Everybody's always familiar with, hey, I'm going to take paper, I'm going to put it in the scanner, I'm going to put it in the MFP, and then I'm going to scan it to my desktop, or I'm going to dump it in a folder. And for some, that's the extent of their document management solution,
Right,
right?
right.
But when you think about real businesses that have a lot of information, right? They want automation. And what hasn't changed is the hardware concept, right? It's all a piece of hardware that takes a paper and extracts the image off of that paper and then makes it digital, and then there's software that does more with it, OCR or whatnot, right? But what people really want is that automation component. They want to be able to quickly do things. Before it was very manual and nothing illustrious about putting paper in, scanning it with my driver, looking at my document, right? That whole manual process. But today people don't have time for that. And what makes this whole process great is that most people don't need to learn how to do that so much, right? As long as
Mhm.
they can put paper in the feeder and hit scan, or within their application and scan, it's done, right? It's seamless for the most part. It's and network scanning makes that even simpler, right? It's all about just paper, and once you hit that scan button, it's going to do what it's going to do without you
Right.
looking at documents, right? Because the technology has gotten so good, the image quality has gotten so good across the board that you could trust it. Some products are better than others, but at the end of the day, the concept's the same: paper in and data's going
Mhm.
somewhere, and that's where there's a lot of benefits to it, right? And the software really is what makes this whole process illustrious, right? It's the automatic classification of documents, right? Years ago, scan paper in, you look at it on your desktop and you go, okay, that's an invoice and it's going to go to this folder, or it's going to go
Mhm.
to this application, right? And if you think about, what software does today, in particular our info input solution, right? You can have, let's say in a healthcare organization, a invoice processing portion of the system.
Mhm.
You can have your ERM, or I'm sorry, your medical records, right? And when you scan those documents, you don't have to no longer look at those documents and decide what they are. The software will determine what they are and then say, okay, this is a invoice. This is going to billing or accounts payable.
Mhm.
Oh, this is a medical record. This is going to the medical records application, right? You don't have to do that. You've eliminated that step. And what's even greater is that OCR technology continues to evolve and evolve, right? The concept hasn't changed. The
Right.
accuracy just gets better, right? And now with all these third-party engines, right? Handwriting recognition. 5 years ago, handwriting recognition was not very good, and it's still evolving. But I tell you what, those Google AI and the Azure AI and all that stuff, I mean,
Mhm.
they do an incredible job at handwriting recognition. I mean, it's impressive, right, on what they can do. And having those capabilities really makes that whole process so much easier. Because at the end of the day, do you want to pay your high expense employees to look at paper and process it, or do you want them to work with that
Mhm.
information and do what they
Right.
need to do in
Right.
the organization? And really that's what network scanning does, is create that automation, eliminates the extra steps on a PC. In a lot of environments, they're not even using a laptop, right? They might be walking around with a tablet, and
Mhm.
tablets, as powerful as they are, right, you don't want to bog your tablet processing power down doing these kind of manual processes, right? At the end of the day, when you get it to your tablet or your mobile device, you want it to be a finished product or the information from there.
Mhm.
Let the back end systems do all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's a fascinating time to be in the industry. Like I said, it's sort of old and new and better and better and better. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. As always, it's good to talk to you, and thanks for participating in Two Question Tuesday.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure, and thanks for having me.